So last week it was kind of hinted at that DC Studios would be holding an event privately for the press, and that this week we might be getting an update on a project related to DC Studios. And it turns out it wasn't just about one project, it was about basically every project they have in the works right now. James Gunn and Peter Safran held an event where they talked to members of the press and gave a lot of short updates on several of their projects. And today, we're just going to go down the list, and I have compiled some information from both Deadline and The Wrap here in a document on my computer, and we're just going to go down the list, talk about the movie updates and the TV updates, and I'll talk briefly about them as I go through this list, but I will talk a little bit more in depth about a few certain things at the end of this massive rundown. So let's just go ahead and jump into it here. The plan right now is to release 2 live-action films in theaters, an animated film, 2 live-action series, and 2 animated series a year. So that brings DC to a total of about 7 projects a year if they stick to this. This isn't like a guarantee, and obviously it being the plan right now, this could change as they start to release projects, but I think this is a manageable number. I mean, if you think about what Marvel is doing with like 3 to 4 movies a year, I think we're averaging about 3 right now, and we'll say about 4 series a year on Disney Plus. We've already had 2 this year, and I don't know off the top of my head what else Marvel has coming on Disney Plus aside from Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and Daredevil this year, and that very well could be it. But I think 7 projects a year is pretty fair when you split them with theaters and streaming. I think that gives fans enough to occupy themselves throughout the year. I don't think it is too much, and it's going to be a very good variety, so I think that is also going to help. Whereas, and I'm not going to draw comparisons to Marvel for this entire video, but Marvel, most of their content recently has been just live action projects. So I think diversifying this a little bit with some animated, some live action, I think this is a good number to start out with as you build out your universe, and you can either scale up or scale back as we progress into this new cinematic universe. James Gunn also knows what his basic plan is for the next 6 years. I mean, this obviously is going to include his Superman film that comes out this year, and I'm sure he has other projects that he's going to write, other projects he might direct, and so I think when he says this, he's really just talking about, he knows what, where these characters and what he wants to do over the next 6 years, which is very exciting. I think James Gunn is a massively talented writer and director. I always look forward to one of his projects, and I am eagerly awaiting Superman. I think that is going to be one of the biggest films of the year. I'm going to go ahead and call it now. I think that come December 31st, when we reflect on the biggest films at the box office, I really think if Superman is a winner with critics and audiences, it will become one of the biggest films of the year. So now they jump into talking about their films. Supergirl, starring Millie Alcock, Jason Momoa in this film will introduce him as Lobo, and directed by Craig Gillespie, who is a filmmaker that I really enjoy watching whenever he debuts a film, is halfway through production and plans to release on June 26th, 2026. CLAYFACE, a film that I'm very interested in for a number of reasons here. Funny enough, there weren't actually plans to do a CLAYFACE film, but when Mike Flanagan presented a script, Gunn and Safran were pretty mesmerized by it, and therefore they decided to go ahead and greenlight the project. James Watkins, who directed last year's Speak No Evil, is to direct the script from Mike Flanagan, another very, very talented filmmaker working right now. The plan is to start shooting the film this summer, assuming that they can find the right actor. Casting is going on right now. The film will be set in both Hollywood and Gotham, and it is going to be a body horror film. And it sounds like there's going to, and not that they are using this as an influence, although I'm sure it might have helped spark a couple ideas from Flanagan. The Substance from Coralie Farge from just last year, which is still having a presence here at award season as we head into the Oscars. So I think they will probably take a couple notes from that film, as I think they should. I mean, The Substance was a really, really great body horror film, and I'm sure that will be one of the films that they kind of take a little bit of influence from. And the film is right now slated to release on September 11th, 2026. So there already are 2 live-action films from for next year, if they do release with the scheduled dates right now. So next year we will have Supergirl and Clayface in theaters. I think that is a pretty good variety already for DC. And I imagine Clayface will be rated R, so you'll have Supergirl, which will really be geared towards, families, the ones that you can take the whole family to. And then you'll have Clayface in September, rated R, hopefully, that will attract an entirely different crowd. So that's one thing that I am very excited to see, is DC kind of target this wide array of audiences. Next up, The Batman 2. Matt Reeves still has not turned in a script, but from what Gunn and Safran have read, they are pleased with the project so far. The film is hoping to begin production at the end of 2025 with a release date of October 1st, 2027. This one, I mean, I'm curious as to why this is taking Matt Reeves so long. And as somebody who has written a script, not nearly to the extent of a Hollywood script, but it's not something that's done overnight. It's not something that's done in 6 months. It's a very, very long process, but it has been quite a while since the Batman. And yes, we did have the WGA strikes that certainly did not help anything. But the film right now is set for 2027, which would be 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, since the first film came out. And I'm interested to see the state of the DCU by that point, the universe that James Gunn and Peter Safran are establishing, and if there really is that interest like there was for the first Batman film starring Robert Pattinson, if audiences still want to go back to that world, or if Gunn and Safran have won audiences over in such a way that that interest just isn't there anymore, and the focus is now on whoever the Batman is in that universe. I wonder how that is going to change over the next few years as we get closer to the inevitable announcement of the DCU Batman for Batman Brave and the Bold, which is also the project that we're going to talk about right now. A writer is attached, but remained unnamed. Andy Muschietti will be the first to read the script. Remember, he was the initial director for the film, but I think, I don't know for sure, this is just pure speculation. I wonder if after The Flash underperformed a bit at the box office, I really like that film. I stand by it. Just all these years later, I thought it was a really fun movie. Andy Muschietti did a great job directing that film. I wonder if there is kind of this unspoken kind of, not demand, but maybe some sort of kind of agreement that he isn't guaranteed to direct the film. It all depends on the script and his vision for it, because you certainly don't want the name Andy Muschietti to tarnish your brand new Batman film. And I don't mean that to come across as harshly as it sounds. Andy Muschietti's a great director. He's done a lot of good work. And I mean, his work with Warner Brothers on It, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. Again, I like The Flash, but call it what it is. It did underperform at the box office. So while he will be the first to read the script, I and as much as I would like to see it, I don't think we'll see him direct this movie. I think there will kind of be this news that he has decided to step away, but he could very well stick around as a producer on the film, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. But again, I think Andy Muschietti is a very, very good director. I like him a lot. The work he's done is great. He has a clear vision for everything that he directs. He's very good with action, as we saw in The Flash. He's good with tone. But I wouldn't, again, be completely surprised if he didn't end up directing this film. Sergeant Rock, the film that is going to be directed by Luca Guadagnino. And let me tell you, when that news came out that Guadagnino would be directing a DC movie, that was not something that I would have ever predicted, but I'm glad to see it. He's a very, very good director. I love all of his work so far, and will be written by Challenger's writer, Justin, I'm going to mispronounce his name. I am so sorry. Kurtzkis. The plan is right now to shoot this summer if the right actor can be found. Much like Clayface, there is not an actor nailed down. I know that there was news that Daniel Craig would be stepping into this role, but Safran and Gunn did go on to say that they never actually met with Daniel Craig. I would like to see another pairing from Luca Guadagnino and Daniel Craig. I haven't actually gotten around to seeing Queer yet. I think it hits HBO Max, or I guess just Max. It's still years later, still doing that. I think it hits Max in March, so I look forward to watching that. But, I mean, Luca Guadagnino, Daniel Craig, that's a great pairing. So I was very interested to see Daniel Craig work with Guadagnino again, but also in a DC project. I thought that would have been really interesting, but ultimately, I mean, they never met with Craig, so I'm very interested to see who they cast in this role. And I'm looking forward to the film as I am with any Guadagnino film. Next up is Swamp Thing. And this one is on hold until James Mangold is ready to make the film. Obviously, he has been very busy. I mean, he shot A Complete Unknown, and now the movie has gone pretty far in award season, so he's been busy with that. He's supposed to make a Star Wars film at some point. I mean, the man has got to be exhausted. So it's very nice that Gunn and Safran are not running to make this film, and if Mangold isn't interested, then they can just move on to another director. I like that they are waiting for him, and whenever he is ready, they do still want to make the film with him, and I'm very interested to see what James Mangold can do with a project like this. Now, Teen Titans, I'm not super familiar with this property. I actually have never seen a single Teen Titans project, but a draft for script has been turned in, and it's nowhere near a finished draft of the script, but a script has been read, and so it looks like we could be getting a Teen Titans film as well. Now, the Matthew Orton script is an interesting one. This is the one that is rumored to be a Bane and Deathstroke project, but Gunn and Safran did not say one way or the other, but that is kind of the speculation amongst all of the news outlets, is that this is that project. But the script is being worked on, but they didn't say if that is, in fact, the Bane and Deathstroke project. Now, The Authority is one of the projects that was announced at the Slate announcement, but the film has had a harder time getting developed, but the two are still believe in the project and still want it to get made. It's just as they have kind of built out this universe further, they've had to tweak things in it, and so The Authority is having a harder time coming together. But again, James Gunn and Peter Safran still believe in the project. Now, as for TV shows, Peacemaker Season 2 will premiere in August on Max. I mean, come on, Peacemaker Season 1, that was excellent television week to week. I love that show, and I am very excited for Season 2, not only to see the story continue, but that means that I get to rewatch Peacemaker Season 1, and I cannot wait to do that. That show was excellent. I am so excited to see more of Peacemaker and all of the characters that really made season 1 great. So I'm very, very excited about this one. Waller is still in development, but has suffered some setbacks in development, and it was also affected pretty greatly, it seems like, by the strikes from a couple years ago. I'm not as interested in this project. When they announced a Waller series, I was kind of surprised by this because Viola Davis is great as Amanda Waller, but I've always kind of seen her as a supporting character. I've never felt like we needed a full-on project starring her. But again, I mean, any project that you can get Viola Davis to star in, I mean, that's I'll easily watch that. But I was a bit surprised by that announcement. But you know, I hope it is good when that finally comes together. Now, Lanterns, Gunn and Safran are confident that this series will debut in early 2026. I don't know much about this project either. If you've seen some of my previous videos, you know that I don't read comics. I never did when I was a kid, and I still haven't as an adult. So I don't know too much about this Lanterns series, but I mean, you got Nathan Fillion in there who will also be in Superman this summer. I'm interested in it. I don't know too much about the material, but I can't wait to learn more about these characters, both in Superman and when the show debuts in 2026. And Paradise Lot, a series about Themyscira, is also still in the works, although they didn't say too much more beyond that. The series is still in the works. Booster Gold still moving forward despite the first showrunner kind of falling out of love with the project. They said that as time went on, they had to kind of slow the development, and the first showrunner they had attached kind of fell out of love with the project, but it is still moving forward with a new showrunner. Again, this is another property that I really don't know too much about, but again, still just as excited to learn about these new characters. And finally, the animated Blue Beetle series is preparing to present for a green light, and the project will be from the same writer and director of the film from 2023. And it will also follow the events of the film, so it'll continue that story on. I like Blue Beetle quite a bit, and so I mean, I would like to see a live action series, but you can do more with animation, and a series will give us more material. It won't be just a 1.5, 2 hour story. So anything that gets more of this character in the DCU is perfectly fine with me. So there is a lot here. I mean, there's a lot of information on so many titles, and there's still more that I didn't put in here. Not many projects, but just more information on some of these. I really just wanted to get into highlights of these projects. And they also mentioned the Penguin Season 2. And obviously, I mean, Colin Farrell isn't in a rush to jump back into that suit and all of that makeup anytime soon. So there's no rush if they decide to do a Season 2 of that incredible series. Nobody's really in a rush to do that yet, and that's understandable. I mean, between the Batman and the Penguin, it's a lot for Colin Farrell. I think he probably would want to go do other projects for a while before he revisits this character. So, a lot of information here, and I really do admire Peter Safran and James Gunn for also being open about the setbacks and the delays of some of these projects. You know, sometimes you hear a project announced and then you don't hear anything about it for so long. And then once it's finally released, you find out about all of these setbacks and delays that happened very quietly and behind the scenes. I like they're being open that, something like The Authority. Okay, we've had issues developing the series as we kind of create these other stories. And so we have to go back and tweak it. Or these, like the Waller series, having a harder time coming along and getting developed and cracking these stories. I like that they're being open and honest about these. While we have a lot that is in development, there are still these projects that we're putting kind of not necessarily on the back burner, but we're really slowing the production, pre-production and development of all of these things, slowing it down, making sure that what we're creating is correct and the best that it can be. I really, really do admire that, and I knew as soon as they were announced as that heads of DC, I knew that we would be getting stuff like this. These honest, open talks about these projects, and I'm still so thrilled that they are not greenlighting anything until there is a finished script. I think that is a massive thing, and again, I don't want to bring Marvel into this conversation too much because this is about DC, but I think that is something that Marvel really should start doing because, I mean, think of all of the conversations surrounding Blade and the setbacks that film underwent, and some of those could have been prevented if they had waited to greenlight that film until there was a script. So I really appreciate and respect what Peter Safran and James Gunn are doing here with DC. And while I am not familiar with a lot of these characters, really, I mean, Supergirl, just kind of scrolling through this list again, Sergeant Rock, Swamp Thing, Teen Titans, these are so many things that I just don't know that much about. But I'm excited for the projects because of James Gunn and Peter Safran at the helm of this studio, and their confidence and their care towards these projects makes me excited to watch them and learn about these characters. So what do you think of all of this DC news? What projects are you most excited for? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more film content from me. I am also over on Patreon, so you can go join me there. There is a link in the description of this video for that. And I think that is all for today. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one.